But so the World Reparation Conference that we're doing in the UK is about bringing awareness. And we've got everybody at the table. We've got from Rastafarians to reverends to government officials. And we also have Caucasian people whose family wants to have a conversation. And one of the things that I learned from her, maybe you know this, is that the slaves, when Harriet was helping them to escape, a lot of the songs, the religious songs, were actually coded. I don't like goat as a rule, and I had goat soup. Oh my goodness! I've never been to Africa before, so but when I got off the plane, for some reason, I ended up in a space that I didn't expect. I'm like, oh, everything shows that I'm between Nigeria and Ghana. Yeah. And in fact, some Ghanaians actually think I'm Ghanaian.
Welcome to Ghana.
Thank you.
Is this your first time here?
Actually, no, it's my second time.
Second time.
And it's the second time for the year.
Oh, okay.
I was here in March on another conference, yes.
Okay. All right, so you came from Canada.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
so somebody contacted me and said that you were in town, you wanted to meet. And I always like meeting people. I don't always have the time to do so, but it's always nice to meet people who've been following my work. So thank you.
And I appreciate that. You know what? Everyone that came with me, it's about 5 of us all together, family members primarily, and one person that worked with me. And I told him, I said, you know, there's this lady from Canada, Ivy Prosper, and she does a fantastic job of showcasing Ghana, but also to people that come over from Canada as well. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you, thank you. So what was it like when you first arrived in Ghana?
To be quite candid, in March, I came over for the Surprise Rise of Africa conference, and I was just coming to speak. And in my opinion, I was just coming to speak. That's all it was. I've never been to Africa before. So, but when I got off the plane, for some reason, I ended up in a space that I didn't expect. So much so that I ended up writing a poem almost on the spot. And it really was about being here and suddenly feeling connected without giving it a thought beforehand. I don't know if that makes sense, but I really never give it a thought of being connected. But here I was in this place and suddenly felt such an overwhelming sense of connectivity. I'm sorry I don't have the poem here with me. Someone asked me that I should maybe have it published, but I haven't decided as yet. Okay. But it was one of those moments, it was just very raw, and I shared it within my family WhatsApp group. So that was my very first feeling as I got here, yes.
And so once you got here, you had the feeling like, I always want to know how people felt about being in Africa, because a lot of the time for me as an African that was growing up in Canada, and most of the Black people I was around were either from the US, because descendants of the slave trade, people who left in the underground and ended up in Canada, or a lot of Caribbeans. So one of the things that I noticed growing up is there was a time when people felt embarrassed to be African because what we saw in media was always the negativity. So people weren't always so forthcoming about their Africanness, especially the younger generation. Maybe their parents were okay with it, but the young generation sometimes didn't. And then I had friends who were Jamaican and had different perceptions of Africa based on what the media shows. So I'm curious to know, did you have a preconceived idea of what Ghana was going to be like, or you came just kind of with a blank slate and just experienced it with no preconceived ideas?
Literally came with no preconceived idea. But let me just expand on that. You cannot live in North America and not be exposed to all of the quote unquote nefarious things that we that we are accused of. And I say we because I kind of hold myself, coming from Guyana in the Caribbean, South America. We're known for being descendants of West Africans. And as you can see from my build, I'm quite likely between, everything shows that I'm between Nigeria and Ghana. Yeah. And in fact, some Ghanaians actually think I'm Ghanaian. So I cannot say that I came without completely no preconceived notion, but it wasn't dominant in my mind. It was something that had become so secondary, and the reason why it became secondary. 31 years ago, when I set foot in Canada, there were so many bad things being, touted by mainstream media about Africans, and so everyone ran with that. You heard all of the things that were being done that were negative. But I will say this: over time, and thankfully LinkedIn as well, Africans were able to showcase just their education, their prowess, their keenness to learn, and people begin to see that a few persons did not make up an entire continent. And I think that was really quite, you know, for me, it took away, let's put it that way, some of those negative, a lot of those negatives, in fact, it took away, and we're able to focus on what are the positives, because everyone has negative and positive. We just were made to focus on those negatives, and so now, thankfully, we can focus on the positive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you've done since you've come?
Well, I will tell you, I wanted to do Cape Coast. But I was here the last time by myself. And so I wanted to have my husband with me before going on that journey. And so we did that. And man, I've heard stories before. It doesn't matter the stories you've heard. It cannot prepare you for that in-person experience. I I put my hand, and even as I tell you right now, I'm having some goosebumps. I put my hand on the walls where these females were held, and it's almost like I can hear them speaking to me still. So much so, again, if in a really emotionally, a strong emotional place, whether it's sadness, whether it's joy, I tend to write. And so I wrote a piece and put it on my Facebook, just talking about, I can almost hear them speaking to me, and I can almost, the cries that I thought were long extinguished, they were gone. I can still hear them. And I can't turn away. I can't turn away ever from it because it's so deeply resonated with me. And we were all gobsmacked by it, to be quite honest. All five of us that were there, we had a really good guide, and we learned a lot that we thought we had already known, but we did not. And so for me, that's the lasting impression. Outside of that, I've done a lot of food.
Food is always good. Food is always good. Especially, I mean, after doing something like that, going to the slave forts and seeing where people were held it's a very emotional experience, And I remember the first time that I went, it was after I graduated from Ryerson, which is now called Toronto Metropolitan University.
TMU, yep.
And when I went, it was like just this, I don't know, it was like this stale stench that you feel. And at the time that I went, they had all of the old shackles in there. I don't think they're in there anymore.
But they just have one bit of the shackles.
Yeah.
We took a picture of it as actually. Yeah,
when I was there, that was in the late 90s, 98.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like they had a whole bunch of them there at the time. And it was just like, oh my God, this is so awful and so heart-wrenching, And for me, as an African, I also recognize that, because some people don't talk about this, but I recognize that some of those people were our relatives, and people don't talk about that.
100%.
Some of those people were our relatives, and you might not even know, you might never find out, And the funny thing is, that's always been in my mind. And then I met a woman 2 years ago who had done a DNA ancestry test.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that there were people in Ghana who had done some ancestry tests in the Upper East region of Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And she matched their DNA.
Oh, wow.
From the US.
Wow.
And so she went to that village, that town, and met with the people
That's fantastic.
Who she matched with. It's just such an
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Like, I was so shocked.
Yeah.
And she happened to be part of a group that did these tests with African ancestry, I believe it was. And there's like 200 African Americans who actually matched people in Ghana.
Wow.
Like families that actually match. And I believe 20 of them have gone and met people. There's still, the rest, I don't know what they're going to do, but I learned that about 20 of them came to Ghana and met the people that they're DNA matched with. So that was, to me, was like, this is the proof.
Yes.
This is the evidence
Yes.
that there were relatives left behind.
Yes. There were people left behind, definitely. And we don't know how they got left behind, but I promise you they were. I've never doubted that for a second.
Yeah. There was one man I met too, even in the Volta region,
Mm.
who told me that he's a descendant of a man who was supposed to be taken onto the slave ship. But the chief in that community said, no, I want him to be my indentured servant, and took him.
Yeah.
So he's like, so he always thinks that there's likely others who
exactly. No, that is the crazy thing about the Cape Coast is that even if, let's say, every single person was cleaned out and went through that narrow passage, because that was another emotional moment for me, where you're chained and you're going through this very narrow. I couldn't do it. I stood there, everybody was, turning sideways to go through. I couldn't do it. But let's say even if everyone had gone through there completely, the fact remains, in my opinion, these were our people. And what frustrates me is looking online for information that ties us all together. And some of the information that's shared online it's been so corrupted that now you don't know what's real and what's not real. If I want to go and find something about a British royalty, it's well documented.
Yes.
If I want to find something about those in Turkey, it's well documented. But everything that we have to go and find now, is it true? Is it real? And I think people don't understand just how much was taken from us. And so for me, coming to Ghana, and next year I'm supposed to be in Abuja, and then I'm going to, someone has invited me to Togo in December, but unfortunately, all of these things take money. And I'm trying I'm trying to build up a bit of a repertoire, if you will, from my business that I literally just started. It's called MSM Global. I put a little bit of a tag there. But I also work as a deputy chair for an organization called the African Caribbean Sustainability and Investment Summit. It's ACSIS. And
it's in Toronto, or
that's actually organized in the UK.
Okay.
The chair is in the UK, and I'm in Canada. But we're pretty global, because one of our project and administrative manager works out of here. Therefore, we have a lot of volunteers because that organization is new. So we are relying on sponsorship in order to offset some of our events that we're coming up. We have a sponsor in Afri-Exim Bank. Yeah, they didn't give us all we asked for, if they're listening. We'd like to get more, and we're struggling. We have up until our flagship is in November, and we don't, we've got a lot of promises, but no fruition. So, but regardless, we are still moving ahead. And the reason why we're moving ahead is because we recognize that there is such a need for collaboration between the African and Caribbean regions. And not only that need, but it needs to be more seamless. So Afri-Exim Bank had Active 2025 in Grenada in July, and we were there to promote. And I was pleased to see there were a lot of other micro-organizations like ourselves that were trying to carry out what Active, is doing on a larger scale through Afri-Exim Bank. So we're encouraged by that. I say to others, it's not a competition. It's more of us taking the messages in our micro forms and making sure that we keep, going at it and keep having people be aware of what we're trying to establish, which is having the regions collaborate and talk a bit more and pass on that kind of to the generations that's coming after us. So, yeah.
Okay, good. You're from Guyana.
Originally, yes.
The country that people get confused about when I would say I'm from Ghana.
Yes.
Like, oh, Guyana?
Yes.
Like, no, Ghana. Guyana? No.
Yeah.
It's so funny. One of my best friends is from Guyana also.
Okay.
Yeah, she lives in the Toronto area as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
But I know that there's definitely lineage directly to Guyana.
There is.
Yeah. I met quite a few people from there that have traveled here to Ghana over the years. There's been quite a few people. and some who've done the DNA testing
Yes.
and found that they had Nigeria and Ghana
That's right.
in their
That's
DNA.
right.
So
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I always say it's the coastal nature of Ghana, and so it was very easy to move slaves to places that were on the coast, and
Yeah.
Guyana too is like that. So I find that that's the reason why we're able to trace back. In fact, I always tell people this story. I was just telling a lady about this a few days ago. When I first got to Canada, and one day I was on this, I was doing something. I went out for a bit. I was walking, and a guy came up to me, and a black guy, and he started talking. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm going to be killed on the streets of Mississauga, right? And because I had no idea, and I was so afraid, right? And I'm new, and everything is very new. You're in a new country, things are, everything is new. So he looked at me, and he saw the complete fear on my face, and he said, "You're not Ghanaian?" And I said, "You're not crazy?" So we had a good chuckle about it, but it's because he saw something in me that made him thought I was Ghanaian. And so he was actually later on, I obviously get to realize he was speaking one of the dialects, but I had no concept, no clue or anything like that about it. So
So he just came and started speaking to you
that is right.
in one of the local languages.
Yes. And I thought I was going to be mugged or killed or something of the sort. And I had no clue what he was saying. So, I am glad that we're living in a time like this that we could. It's still a lot of work to be done because to get here, I have to travel for 14 hours or something like that. There's always a layover. It's either in Europe or I lay over this time at JFK. And, if we can work on getting where we're a little bit more able to collaborate a little bit easier, I think that's going to really help everyone. So the diasporic community is working on that. And why I say the diasporic community is working, all of those little micro organizations I told you about, I've talked to other people who go, oh, all of us are doing the same thing. And as though it's a complaint. And I said, listen, this is good. Afro-Exim Bank can't do this by themselves. Active can't do this by themselves. They are going to be the big, and they have obviously the funds behind them to do the big splash.
Yeah.
We now are the ones that are the little worker bees. We are going to take it in our pieces and take it to the different areas. And it needs every single one of us, like every single one of us. So let me tell you a little bit about ACSIS.
Yes, tell me.
In the UK. We have spoken with a number of people, and we take people from both the African side and, of course, the Caribbean side. So on the Caribbean side, we're having the head of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Her name is Dr. Marlon Street Forrest. We have Zambia High Commission confirmed. We have Nigeria, and these are High Commission to the UK because we want to be as local as possible to avoid people having to do travel and expenses and stuff and so on. But we also have a number of business people that are there, and one influencer that has just joined us,
Nice.
Gabrielle Gay, and we're supposed to have a conversation to firm up all of the details. Barbados Tourism as well has decided. But most importantly, and I'm saying this to everyone, most importantly, MultiChoice, an organization here in Ghana, has invited us to host ACSIS in Ghana next November. So we have accepted
November 2026.
November 2026. So November 2025, we'll have the 2025 ACSIS Summit in the UK. In fact, today, while I sit here, my colleagues in the UK are doing what we call the World Reparations Conference. All of that is to build up awareness to our flagship event. So today at the House of Lords, ironically, that's a place that was very instrumental in the whole slave trade. And I use the word trade loosely because I don't really like to say slave trade.
No, I feel like it was trafficking.
It was trafficking. I just said that to someone. I said the whole concept of the trade is that you had some say in the matter. I'm going to give you my life for whatever. There was not that. There was just simply being taken. So to me, it was just a trafficking, as you rightly said, more than anything. But so the World Reparation Conference that we're doing in the UK is about bringing awareness. And we've got everybody at the table. We've got from Rastafarians to reverends to government officials. And we also have Caucasian people whose family wants to have a conversation and want to make recompense for their their ancestors' part in it. So it's a big moment for us. I couldn't be two places, but it's a big moment. But I'll be there in November.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
huge that
Yeah.
there's a Caucasian family
Yes.
that is willing to be a part of kind of like an apology almost.
That's right.
That their ancestors were part of
That's right.
trafficking of Africans.
And they actually said apology. And he actually, the first guy that kind of initiated the conversation with us, asked a few others that he knew that were on the same kind of path, if you will, almost like a redemptive solution, if you will, for whatever they go through in their minds when they think of slavery and the part of their ancestors played in that. And we admire that. I appreciate it. I'm not going to make it as though it's the pivotal point.
Right.
We have to step away from that.
Point.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a starting point, and we need to keep having the conversation going, because if we don't, no one's going to carry it. And we're going to start over again and start over again and start over again without getting any kind of movement or any kind of, it's not always about the money. Like I say to people, part of our initiative this year is creative and cultural industries, because that was taken from us as well. We lost a lot of those. And thankfully for people like Harriet Tubman, who I learned this through in Black History Month from a lady in Canada who traced her, she traced her ancestry right back to Africa, and she had pictures to prove it, all of that. And one of the things that I learned from her, maybe you know this, is that the slaves, when Harriet was helping them to escape, a lot of the songs, the religious songs, were actually coded. And within those, like, so wading in the water, for example, was when the dogs could always pick up the scent of the slaves. And they were trained, they were made to smell the slaves, so they were very familiar with their scents. But when they were doing the escape, if dogs, were seen or were heard, they were given a clue. And that clue is that they need to go into the water. The water took away the scent, and they were able to escape that way. And so it wasn't just about her leading people and going through the underground and finding different trails, as we call it, underground, quote unquote underground. It was about all of those elements of escaping without being caught. Obviously, some people were caught, but as far as possible without being caught by all of these coded languages. I thought that was,
wow.
I was blown away.
Wow.
Yeah. So this reparation conference in the UK to me is very important. So much so that we're bringing it into November. There's an entire panel that will discuss that as well. We have a website called African Caribbean Summit. We couldn't use the entire name because obviously it's too long, but we do have that. And then of course there's always myself. I'm so deeply entrenched in everything. I keep my hands on everything within it, both David and myself. If you look for me, I am there mainly under MSM. That's my name, by the way. The last time I was here and someone interviewed me at a radio station and he said, so how did you come up with the name MSM? And I said, it is so simple. My name is Michelle Simone Moseley, and so my company is MSM. So if you look for me, it always tracks you to the ACSIS, which is the African, Sustainability and Investment Summit. So,
great,
perfect.
Now, before I let you go, because I know you have a busy schedule with everything you're doing today or during your trip, but I wanted to know, because you mentioned doing a lot of food. What are some of your favorite foods that you've had while you're in Ghana?
Well, who could not talk about jollof rice? So, like I said, I'm here with there's an older lady here with us. It's a making her dream come through kind of stuff. Okay. So we've done this before. We had an elderly lady that we took to the UK. She had dreamt of riding the double-decker bus. And we done that, and that was spectacular. So when we were coming here, and we being my husband and myself, I'd mentioned it in passing to this lady, and she said, oh, how I wish I could be there. And I said, really? Save your money. Off we go. And she said, you're not kidding, right? No, we're not kidding. So she's here. Oh my gosh, she's having the time of her life. And we all, my sister-in-law is here, and Shanti Lewis, who is the creative director of my company, is here. She also works with me under ACSIS, young lady, very vibrant. And so we're all here. And let me get you to the food. So every time we go out to eat, we eat jollof rice. And we eat plantain. You know, the last night Shande had at Asmera, I think it was a seasoned kind of plantain. I can't.
Yeah,
Kilawilla? Yeah, that's one. And you know, I met with the global, both Shonda and I met with the Global Africa Chamber, and they said, "What do you want to eat?" We had met with them earlier, and they said, "What do you want to eat?" And I'm like, "Jollof rice." So everybody that was in the meeting, they also had jollof rice. But we have tried other stuff. We've tried peppered goat. My husband is bald, and his head was sweating. He's going to not like me saying that. It was crazy. And I, you know, and then my sister-in-law, she's just in love with the shito, and I like that too. But I found that I was at the living room, and they had the greens
Green
pepper.
chili pepper one.
Yeah. Oh, and I loved how they prepared it. We have taken stock of, you know, where we've eaten and who has done what better. So far, I think we, the elder lady, she loves the Asmera. All of us like the living room. The ambience was really quite great as well. The food was
Yeah, I
fantastic.
like the living room.
That's right.
Asmera is also nice as well.
Yes. And then we had Lamu, which is upstairs at Belrose Place. And they're the ones that had the pepper goat, and the pepper goat was peppered, but it was really, really good. And then we went to Akiko? Afrikiko. We went to Afrikiko. We did the buffet there, and I had the banku. Jollof rice still wins for me. It still wins for me. I did enjoy the banku, but I'll tell you what, I don't like goat as a rule. And I had goat soup. Oh my goodness. At Afrikiko. Afrikiko, if you're hearing me, I had your goat soup, and you have just got to convert. So that was fantastic. And my husband had the peanut, is it peanut?
Peanut soup.
Peanut soup. And he thought that was amazing. But again, we all did the jollof rice, and I've got some in the fridge right now for the second portion of my eating. So the food is
safe to say that jollof rice
it's the winner. Yes, so for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. It's a pleasure meeting you, and I love everything that you're doing. Like all the stuff you've been talking about. That's a really, really great initiative. A great way to build up the community and working towards the whole reparations.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's been a long, long, long journey.
And we still have got a long way to go.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I mean, I couldn't believe that you were going to take some time out of your busy, because I hear about Ivy all the time, and I follow you on Instagram. You probably don't know, but I do follow you on Instagram. My husband, believe it or not, was the first person he would be, and this is long before we even came to Ghana or even had thoughts of coming to Ghana. He'd be like, "Oh, I watched this girl. Her name is Ivy Prosper. She came from Canada, and I see her just talking to people." And I was like, okay. So when I came the first time, I said, okay, I'll reach out to Ivy. But then I was 5 days, and it got so, it got so crazy. So this time, my husband was determined. And I was like, okay. So then we got Precious involved, because she works with one of my friends who lives here part-time. She's an immigration lawyer. Maybe you've seen her. She's pretty big on Instagram as well. Her name is Kinda Velosa. And so Precious was really, really good in just setting things up, and we really appreciate that as well. We thank you so much for this. So
thank you too. And I really appreciate you all for watching the content, and it makes me happy to know that people are getting inspired and liking the stories that I tell. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you all today for watching. Thank you so much. Make sure you share this video. I always love when I get to talk to people from Canada, because most of the time it's Americans that I meet. So it's always wonderful to meet a fellow Canadian in Ghana. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And the details to the conference I'll put in the description of the video if you want more information about the organization, if you want to make a donation, you want to support, you want to sponsor. All the information will be pinned in the top of the comments as well as in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.